trusting Splyce to ban King Arthur here, and then Dignitas get a chance to respond. The question is, do they want to ban away Achilles or this Merlin or something like that?
I would say obviously Merlin probably, because Moswal seemed very comfortable on that pick in the previous games. Didn't look very comfy on the Poseidon. Get him on something other than the Merlin, and then just kind of see what Divios is capable of on the Achilles.
That should be the question. Try and limit the options that are there, but Dignitas are not snapping into this ban. They certainly are considering it. For me, I don't know if Moswal has quite shown enough outside of this Merlin for you to be too worried. I mean, the Zhonghui looked good for him, so maybe there's always the concern he might go back to that pick, but I think you really can't let him be on this Merlin.
Yeah, Merlin is just kind of a nuisance, and if you're not going to be able to focus him and really dive him in the back line, then you'd rather just not deal with him at all at the end of the day. So Dignitas still really considering some of their options here. I don't see a world where they let Merlin through.
Me neither. This is Coach Biggie's time, isn't it? Where he's got to be that voice from outside that's like, guys, tell me the information. Do you think you can beat it? What can we do? And like help make that final call for this team. And it looks like it will be banning away that Merlin. But now Splyce get that chance to punish. And they don't even want the Achilles. They want Jing Wei.
It makes sense. CycloneSpin really likes this goddess.
Wow.
And it's such a safe pick, and Ataraxia really likes it as well whenever he has the opportunity to play it. So a very contested pick between the two of them. I think every game it's been picked. It hasn't even been banned away.
Yeah, it's been a priority pick between these two, but now they're giving over the Achilles to Variety, who just played it very well, and I see no reason why he would even hesitate to snap this one up for himself. So this means Splyce must feel confident that they have an answer. Remember, the Jormungandr has made it through this time. Maybe that can come back around for Splyce, and they can try and play around that if Dig don't take it for themselves.
I expect that to be the case, but no, Dignitas hovering over
they knew it.
I think it's going to be for Trixtank this time around.
Isn't that that's crazy? Splyce had that slot open, and they don't take Achilles or Yorm. They take this Jing Wei. I know it's a contested pick in this set, totally, but I mean, I don't think it matches either one of those two's value.
I agree. I think this Yorm is just a little too valuable between these two teams.
Yeah, in particular.
If it's in your wheelhouse, then it's got to be a priority pick, and if you haven't had it in your priority pick, ban it away. And that's kind of what these teams have been doing in the previous couple of games, but now it's going to see some light, Finch.
King Arthur was banned away already, and Jormungandr's considered. Wow, Dig have really been thinking this through. And if I'm being honest, I love these first two picks from them. I mean, there's some room for Splyce to come through. There must be some Galaxy Brain 200 IQ play we haven't seen yet. So this is where I think if it happens, we'll see it. But so far, I think Dig have done exactly right. Banning the Merlin. King Arthur, let Splyce ban that. Grab Achilles and Yorm. They're looking good.
Moswal's going to have to play something that's going to be safe in that mid lane. I'm thinking Scylla, I'm thinking Agni, maybe Zhonghui again because of the protections and whatnot, but then Dignitas, if they see that Zhonghui, they have Qvofred's pick still in the air, and that could be a Serket to deal with the Zhong.
That's right. Serket could certainly still be strong. She's not been taken away just yet, and we know how well Qvo can play on that pick, as now Splyce have to decide. I wonder if they're even worried about maybe picking the Awelish early. They've already proven that Awelish and Yorm are a good combination together, so maybe there's some concern from Splyce that they have to pick that away from Dig. There's just so much now they have to consider as Cyno goes right back into the Pele.
Pele is just a good goddess to have in your jungle in terms of farming, having the most movement speed when you pop that aura. And immediately, Moswal thinking of options of how to deal with the dive potential from Jormungandr outside of just the passive protection. When you're recalling the demons, if Jormungandr expended all three of those charges from his World Serpent, he's a sitting duck. All those ghosts going to chase him even through the underground phase.
That's right. They'll be able to get that extra damage off. But remember, Kali and some of these hyper carry junglers have been getting banned out a lot this set. We saw it when bots and Kali getting banned back in Game 4, when bots Kali getting banned in Game 3. So now that's finally made it through for Qvo. So they've got the Achilles, the Jormungandr, all clearing space for this Kali.
And Kali doesn't care about all that damage over time against Zhonghui. As long as she has her ultimate available to extend her life by a couple of seconds, even without Scarab's Blessing, Kali should be A-okay, and at least finding the pick onto Moswal. If that's going to be her target, going to be scary for Splyce.
Well, it's Hades and Geb banned out by Dig. Splyce take an eye towards the middle lane to limit for Hurriwind. They ban away the Zeus and the Giannis this time, which does limit some of the options in both terms of the immobile burst mage and the most immobile mage that we have. They went to both ends.
Go Agni. Just go Agni here.
He's good.
It's not bad.
He's a good pick.
The bomb stuns into the Kali follow-up damage. Jormungandr is going to create plenty of space for you anyway. You can dash offensively if you need to, and Hurriwind is no stranger to that.
No, not at all. Hurriwind's not afraid to go in. As look at Dignitas clearly laughing after getting a nice Game 4 win and feeling good about where they are in this draft phase. Apollo is hovered. They can't be lucky this one.
They actually might, Finch. I'm thinking of the global pressure. It's a safe pick in terms of being able to sit in AFK farm. Knowing Ataraxia's build has been more crit-centric, with the Audacity passive stacks increasing the attack speed anyway.
Sure.
Not a bad look, honestly.
Might not be bad. And you're right. The Jormungandr can already zoom across the map pretty fast. Then you have Ataraxia following up with this Apollo to join in. And they absolutely do lock this one in. Wow. Dignitas are picking this guy. I mean, 0%. We have not seen him yet. I mean, in terms of just performance, he was down there with Hou Yi as hunters that have really struggled, at least in, like, you know, offline performance and such. So very surprising Digger prioritizing it here.
Whenever Ataraxia has Apollo, you got to type "Howdy, Mr. Ataraxia" in the chat for good luck to be able to receive that good fortune. And I think Dignitas are going to have some great fortune if they can make sure that Apollo gets to the late game, Kali gets to the late game, because right now the early game is kind of iffy.
Right.
They do have the pressure of globally between Jormungandr and Apollo, and I like that. Achilles can cover the early game option, so maybe Qvofred is going to look for the solo v solo interference.
Well, this is the first time totally that it's felt like Splyce didn't have the upper hand to me in picks and bans, or at least they're a little bit on the back foot. I don't think they have a bad draft. I mean, Jingwei, Pele, Zhonghui are certainly strong, but they've given up quite a bit in terms of value over to Dig.
They should get Terra. Splyce should obviously lock in the Terra here in terms of teamfight presence. Zhonghui needs a little bit more assistance in surviving because this Kali is not going to give any sort of relievance whatsoever. The Sobek, though, is another way to peel, but
That's old school if it's for Tivios, isn't it?
man, this is getting such old school.
This is, I mean, it's just surprising. Normally what happens when we're like on the desk for Splyce is that they pick these picks and I'm like, why'd they pick that? And then slowly this game plan materializes. I'm like, oh, Kabam and the squad are just like 100 light years ahead of me, and now I'm catching up away from facing Brock. But this isn't the first time I haven't felt that way.
I'm a little surprised that they're not hovering over like maybe even Artio against Kali.
Yeah.
That's also a great lockdown. Sobek and Artio would make a lot of sense. And then also locking down the Apollo, potentially. But yeah, this could probably go to Divios.
I think so. There's a good chance this will be for Divios, especially now that the Hercules has come in. This is something that Aror's been playing over there in the support role throughout this set, so wouldn't be surprised if he grabs that one again. And now we come back towards Dig, who I still think they need to pick something for Hurry, is what they're missing at this point. So plenty of mages left on. Zeus and Giannis have been taken out, but Discordia is still available. She could be a strong pick for them here in the mid lane. There's still plenty for Hurry to go with. Agni, as you said.
Surprised, well, it's double plucks between the Sobek and the Hercules, but you're not going to be able to pluck Trixtank playing the Jormungandr. You will proc the passive, so he'll take extra damage for a little bit of time, sure, but Trixtank will never get out of position because of his passive, so you can never really kill him unless he already used his World Serpent.
That's right. They're going to be settling instead on trying to figure out whoever this mid lane mage is. Dignitas is now kind of taking their time with at picking, and it's got to be something, I think, you kind of highlighted earlier, that gives them some early presence. Maybe even something like an Isis or something that can fight in this mid lane early for them, and not let this Zhonghui be kind of a bully.
Isis would be a great pick into the Zhonghui, actually. You pop the Recall Demons, you circle protection, the team fight, you mitigate the damage, and then whatever damage is left over that he deals, you heal it back up. So that wouldn't make a bad call for Dignitas. That was a very popular strat, actually, in Season 2.
Oh, wow.
Freya, though, instead.
All the way down, that last pick gets picked up. And this is interesting. Now, this makes me think very much so that it's Apollo for Hurriwind, and then the Freya can go over to Nate in the dual lane. And honestly, this really feels like, to me, the first draft where I think Dignitas has just had the better Splyce from the beginning of it. The way they handled those first couple of bans with the Merlin, and Splyce took Jingwei, they got Achilles, Yorm, now they've got this Freya all the way at the end of the draft. 10th picking Freya feels really good.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm really impressed so far.
It's an interesting comp. It's a great late game. Dignitas wins this late game if they can get there safely. So there's more control from Splyce, I think, just between Sobek and Hercules alone. Very aggressive is Dignitas' composition. So if they don't find the picks early and transition it into objectives, I'm a little worried for Dignitas.
Sure.
But knowing them with their confidence levels, being able to come back in game number 4, I think that Qvofred on this Kali is going to have a fantastic performance.
It might be a battle of the different stages of the game. Could Splyce get ahead early, or will Dignitas run it late? We'll have our chance to find out. This is game number 5. Winner takes it all in this game. Let's get over to F. Dot and Aggro.
Well, someone's got to win. and that's what we're about to see. Tom and Aggro bringing you the cast for the fifth match here, the fifth game, excuse me, of the first match. Splyce and Dig going head-to-head. We were really discussing on Splyce this combo team. Every time they come out, they've got an identifiable combo that they're going to do, and that's how they find their wins. And my problem here, Aggro, is that I just don't see it this time around.
Yeah, there's no combo necessarily here for Splyce, but this is just a really, really, really good teamfight comp. I mean, they have tons of AoE, tons of control, and just bring a lot of extra CC to the team fight's damage. They've kind of got it all here. Dignitas, I think correctly identified on the desk, is just a pure late game comp, and Hurriwind is there on this Freya. You heard Finch or Tolly ask for maybe something like Isis that can give you early mid pressure. That's what Freya is now.
Yep.
She is early mid pressure, and so I really like this pickup. I like where Dignitas ended up in this draft.
I got to agree. I think Dignitas have obviously the late game attack speed draft. There's not really much attack speed slow on the side of Splyce or any really, so you've got to build into the Witchblade. You've got to build into some sort of attack speed slow, and we'll be looking for Splyce to be doing just that. Dig have the better draft, I would venture to say, straight up and down than Splyce. But if there's any team that can, take the win, and that's also, earlier today, I was just talking about how you win some in the draft and you win some on the battlefield. You got to be able to do both. Splyce can still win this game. I just think it will be easier for Dig to kind of just take the reins and wind up late.
This is a tough draft to beat for Dignitas if it goes late. But Splyce, even if it goes late, I think can do it because they just have so much control in this composition. I mean, they've got great peel for Kali that it's going to be tough for Qvo to get into these fights and actually end up impacting them pretty easily. I wouldn't, I'm not willing to go on record and be like, yeah, if it goes 48 minutes, then it's a guaranteed Dig win.
Right.
Because I think that Splyce can even be behind and potentially win a game with this type of composition. These are my favorite types of comps because I don't think you can ever count them out. They can snowball really well, and then you never get a chance to fight them one-on-one, and then you never get a chance to win. Or they can be behind and still win because they're really good at team fighting comps. That's why we usually see the best teams in the world just be team fighting teams because you're never really out of it.
Right. You're talking about Splyce's draft this time.
Yes. Splyce's draft being so team fight oriented.
The Hercules, the Moswal selection as well, and Sobek, a sort of forgotten pick. Now it's not going to do much against Trixtank. It'll slow him down a little bit. You can't knock up the Jormungandr, but every time you knock him up, he gets slowed down. So that's sort of the trade-off there as far as his passive is concerned. But Sobek just brings a lot of control. Aror does too, coming up from the top and getting Hurriwind's beats, but he's already been pushed forward. Cyno's here getting some of the damage, and Moswal with a big old exorcism, taking down Hurriwind for first blood. A jump from Qvofred will get him out of jail. Splyce start their team fight comp off hot and fast, and they just take a team fight at 2 minutes. First blood.
Poor Hurry, thinking that it's only a 2v2 in mid and not a 3v3, as it always has been so far this set. And that's really what makes the difference, is Aror coming around the back with that blink again. Just blink push. Hurriwind's felt it a bunch so far this set, but again, kind of catches them off guard. But just good patience by Cyno, waiting for Aror to be the initiator, lets him take all of the damage coming from the minions, and then goes in and follows up once the purification bead CC immunity is gone.
Splyce now going to continue with the 3v3 matchup in the mid lane. We've seen that all series long, so unlikely to change. Pele will dip to the right, mid lane will dip to the left, and then they'll all coalesce in the middle one more time. That forces Dignitas to do something similar. Trixtank has been laning with Hurriwind for a number of minutes now, and all of the games as well. So very interesting style that Splyce is playing. Because they're just going, okay, so you guys have a way of playing the game. We're going to make that different for you, and I think that's valuable in and of itself.
So just force them to adjust a little bit. You can't let them stay comfortable, and
yeah,
that's always something that you see that the really good teams do is force other teams into awkward positions.
And there's conversation of what's the better start, what's the best start. Is this better or worse or stronger or more farm, less farm? Just the value of it being different is inherently what has value here, and I think that's what Splyce are doing. Is this start better than a different one? I don't know, but they got first blood and they've been able to make moves.
Cyno's level 5, gonna blink over the wall and look right towards Trixtank, hit him with the daze as well. Volcanic Lightning Easy kill. Hurriwind only level 3. No beads. He's going to try and stand and fight for as long as he can. As Qvo comes in, a nice little double stun. Aror getting low, and Qvo will at least put Dignitas on the board.
Cyclone's here, though. The rotation is strong. Knockup will miss, and Qvo gets out of there thanks to the ultimate. So a 1-for-1 trade, but again, every time a support goes down for something bigger than a support across the way, they're generally yelling worth. Herc might be the exception.
No, that's a 2-for-1. Don't forget that Trixtank ended up falling right away on that gank. Hurriwind was kind of the afterthought. Just good early pressure from Splyce, and again, this is what you would like to see from them, is let Cyno get off to an early lead. Don't let Dignitas get towards their phenomenal late game composition, and if Cyno can get off to a good start, that'll be a big deterrent in this game going longer.
Certainly would be a much needed change from some of the other games. Cyno has been on or off this series, it seems. When he plays well, he really, really does strong stuff, but the Wheelish game needed a little bit more. That last Pele game needed a little bit more. And so we'll see how it works out.
He's in the right spot to do well, though. And I think that it's not just the 2 kills that he has early on and the fact that he's been a part of all 3 kills so far for Splyce. But it's also the god selection, I think, is really good here. Jormungandr is the newest god that's allowed in competitive. He's doing a whole bunch of nonsense, and no one's really sure exactly how to counter him quite yet, I don't think. But Pele is the type of god that can do very well against him, and that he doesn't get away from people very well. He's got a stealth that gives him some extra movement speed, but he gets revealed as soon as he gets hit. You can see where he's going. Pele doesn't care about your movement speed. She can easily reveal you. And then the knockup is going to slow and make her Trix take more damage. So I think it could be really good against this in particular.
Cyno looks over for the gank, but Ataraxia sniffs it out thanks to the ward placement coming out from Dignitas on the safe side. So no gank from Cyno, just a little bit of a lane tax. Early on, Splyce made some moves. I'd like to see them continue in that direction. Again, late game kind of belongs to Dignitas. Not that it's over at 50 if we get there, but Dignitas certainly has the upper hand. In about 5 to 10 minutes, that's where Splyce really hit their stride. In that mid-game, 3 to 4 items on everybody, and you could really start to make some plays. And this is how you ramp up to that mid-game section. You grab a first blood, you get a double kill over here. You look for variety in the solo lane. He'll still be slowed down by Divios, and the ultimate from the support will miss, but the Earthbreaker will hit it. Kill number 4 for Splyce. Stay active. Always be clearing. Know your ABCs. That's what I want to see out of Splyce.
They're doing it so far. Really good gank from Aror. Basically playing jungle 2, as you've called him quite a bit so far this set. And the ultimate misses, but forces variety into a lose-lose. That's just really good situational awareness there from Aror. He knows that if he forces variety to juke left instead of juking right, then he ends up dying to the extra damage coming from Divios after the fact with lurking in the waters, or in fact his own damage in the 2. So well done by Aror, and just making an impact all across the map.
The impossible decision. Damned if you do, damned if you don't. The true zoning ult, right? Walk into the boulder and die, or walk into me and my teammate and die. Your choice. Aror lifted, but largely will be safe and sound. Misses his own lift, so Hurry will be just as safe and sound. Not a big deal.
Qvo is kind of caught in an awkward spot this game, though. Does he go for Crusher, which is really standard on Kali, because her early game burst damage off the stun, and then the 2 is actually pretty strong, so you usually see Kali's go for these pen options in that first item slot right now, and then delay the hasten katana and the stone cutting and whatever else until a little bit later on. But they really need anti-heal to deal with Aror and Cyno in these fights, and Hurriwind can certainly buy it, and I think he will.
Right.
But does Qvo want to go for brawlers right away? He decides to stick with Crusher, which is much, much better on Kali. Gives her everything she wants, a relevant passive on her, pen, power, attack speed, of course. Huge deal for her, but still, I think that they will be missing brawlers a bit.
Well, Auror's going to brawl in the mid lane. Aror looks at Hurry and brings Freya down to half HP. Moswal still trying to get involved. Right side, Divios and Variety check in on the solo lane. And they're just slap boxing, no surprise there. Half HP for both of them. Trixtank hasn't been as sneaky as some of our other Jormungandrs have been. Both the Aror and Zeros were very sneaky with the Jorm. Here, even when Trix goes invisible, Everybody knows he's around, so not a huge deterrent. Red buff invade, still available, but Aurora now too far, has to escape.
He gets out of there right on time, but now Moswal is caught in the middle of everybody, but that's exactly where he wants to be. He takes out Ataraxia. Hurriwind doing what he can in the Valkyrie's discretion, but just delaying the inevitable. Trixtank has given up on this engagement as red buff going Splyce's way. It's all because of Aror just getting these beads. Great blink in, though, from Qvofred. Gets two people stunned, and now he's looking for Aror. Has that destruction ultimate, but I just don't know who his target is.
Can't find it. He certainly wouldn't be able to go get a kill, and that's going to be the issue. As everybody else from Splyce just walk away. Moswal goes down, and some relics are used, but nobody else falls. That's going to be a great look for Splyce, who find themselves about 1,200, or excuse me, 2,000 gold up. Another early start coming out from Splyce.
And you know Splyce is like, hey, let's just not do fire this time. Let's just wait on that. We don't need to be forcing anything with a lead like this.
Absolutely not.
At this position.
Well, I mean, what could go wrong? We'll force the 5-man Fire Titan fight at 15 minutes.
They could come in.
Okay.
They could steal it.
But how?
By them doing the last points of damage on the Fire Giant's HP. And then we could lose the game off of it. Because it's a strong buff.
That makes sense.
Yeah, that's what
on board.
Yeah, that's what happened in the last game, so it's like pretty easy for me to remember. I don't know.
Well, the Gold Fury is going to be pulled up here. Trixtank targeted by Aurora, and some damage from Moswal as well. The ultimate can be used, and Divios shows up. Tail Whip. See you later.
Man, Divios just did 211 damage with Tail Whip. It's because that dazed effect that Jormungandr goes through, it really does boost up your damage against him quite a bit. This is going to be a Gold Fury without any more Dignitas jerseys showing up to try and play some defense, and a big lead now for Splyce, over 3,000. This is where the 5-game sets, you kind of get lulled into, this is what's going to happen in this game. You know, we're going to wait a little bit. We're not going to fight you early. We're going to let you get away with whatever you're picking in the early game. And then Splyce goes, yeah, not anymore. I'm kind of good. I want to fight.
We saw the same thing out of, was it Dignitas, or was it Dig Pittsburgh Knights yesterday?
Yeah, where Qvo started ganking duo.
Yeah, Qvo starts ganking duo, and then also a very slow, methodical first couple of games, and then last game all early game picks, and that winds up winning the set, largely because the opposition's like on the back foot, switching things up and changing your strategy. I heard you use it on a micro level as far as the gameplay is concerned on the cast, but on a macro level, the mix-ups are important as well. You condition your opponent into expecting these Hades combo situations and these longer engagements, and then you go, well, what if we just Zhang-Kui Pele and run you down at 10 minutes? That can work too.
Seems good.
And the big level switch is pretty tough for teams to deal with. As you can tell, Splyce working it so far.
But really, in my mind, it's been more about Aurora just having a great game mechanically. I mean,
absolutely.
There's nothing sneaky about Hercules. He's going to walk at you. He's going to try and pick you up with the 2. Then he's going to push you towards your team. That's what happens.
Yep.
And he's just been doing that really, really well so far against Hurriwind.
That's big.
The snake?
It's a big snake.
Kind of what he does.
He does. Big is not a verb. The verb of big would be to embiggen.
That wouldn't be it.
Yeah, it would. Embiggen.
No?
Yeah, it's
It's something me brang, man. I don't know what you want from me.
No, if you're gonna make something, if you are gonna make something bigger, you embiggen it. That's what you do.
What is this that's going on?
It's
right
the
here?
word.
First, okay.
I'm sorry. You're just not cromulent enough to understand. Moswal gonna make the play here. Nice ultimate out of Aurora to keep Trixtank at bay, and the red buff will be invaded one more time. Qvofred, light target, and I like that. He's a target as long as he's close, but nobody's gonna go chasing a Kali. Splyce, very disciplined, look for an invade, and small little pebbles will eventually become an insurmountable mountain Splyce have found themselves a 4,000 gold lead above Dignitas, just 14 in.
Divios rotated in, blink pluck onto Hurriwind, got his purification bead, so another fight where Hurry can't really step up is going to be on these on this next Gold Fury. He's just been really hamstrung by how much pressure he's been under in the mid lane.
So frustrating too. It's got to be at least with the displacement. I mean,
Yeah.
anytime you're a mid laner, we get it. You guys are focused. It's a thing, but you have Divios that can pluck you and bring you 10 feet away from your team, and then Aurora's going to do the same thing, and then he's going to do it again. So you wind up on the top side of Gold's Fury. You start there, and then you wind up in the enemy red buff, and you're like, I didn't get on the train.
How did I get here? Where am I?
What's up? What's happening?
I don't understand. Yeah, there's certainly potential for that with this type of team composition for Splyce, and that's why the Jormungandr at first glance looks really attractive, is because he's not going to have to deal with any of that, but instead he just gets slowed and takes a bunch more damage. He basically gets sundered every time he gets hit by one of these CCs, and Sunder's really good at killing tanks.
Can Aror? So Aror can't hit Trixtank with the Earthbreaker, but the driving strike, hits a stun and a push.
It's stun and that's it.
Doesn't
stun
push.
It, well, then it slows him and then he takes more damage. Right,
But-
no push.
So the push doesn't apply. Very interesting.
Anything, the cute little rule of thumb is that anything that would have applies Stone of Gaia passive won't work.
No tier.
That's right.
The push, just the stun. Almost good enough. Now Magma Worm comes up. Looking for the knockups. God, that's a big ult. It's so cool looking as well.
It's the best.
I actually was looking on Reddit, and somebody was like, I haven't played for a year or two. I watched the cast. I saw Jormungandr, and I downloaded the game. Like that is absolutely
I see you're a man of culture as well.
right. Just I want to do that.
Who doesn't?
Divios finds a pluck. Variety has to use the ult, and it gets cut short. Looks left, looks right, and he's going to go down looking at his feet. A rare misplay from Variety on the solo Achilles. He'll go down, and that'll confirm Dignitas have and want nothing to do with his Primal Fury. Splyce pick it up, and that'll be one stack of Kill the Fire Giantitude. And things will get a little bit easier.
And I love getting Primal Furies when ahead. I think
Yeah.
that it just means that I'm like, okay, now I get to really push a lead. Should we get an opportunity at Fire Giant, it makes it that much easier for us to take down. And Splyce is at that point pretty soon. Again, I think they might end up being a little gun shy around that objective. And the bad news for Splyce is that despite all this pressure, Qvofred's been farming up a storm. He is the same level as Cyno so far in this game, despite all the global golden experience that Splyce has been earning as a unit. Qvo's been farming it up, and Kali can turn it around pretty quickly for her team should things start going her way.
We always joke one Scylla ult can change the course of a game. Kali doesn't even need to ult. She will likely have to, but Kali can waterfall through a team fight and win you the game, absolutely.
They're doing it again.
Fire Giant getting spliced up here, 50% so far. Trixtank on the left-hand side, 25%. Mages have their ultimates. Here it is, 10. Now Trixtank focused, Trixtank gone. Left side is going to be a little bit of a story as Aurora still has control of the Fire Giant. Hurriwind's over the wall. Hurriwind's still there. And Splyce will walk away. They're not going to get it stolen this time. They just look for the kill.
Ataraxia was on the way as well with that across the sky. Good call by Splyce to end up dropping that objective. You get the kill, you back it up. And that's really what you want to be doing in these big lead scenarios around the Fire Giant. There's no reason to risk getting it low and having it get stolen. Just bait them in and take the fight. And that's what they do that time around. Trix has really been neutralized heavily on this Yorm so far in this set. Level 11, 3 levels down to Aror and down just a ton of effective HP, not only by way of items, but by just per level scaling that Guardians get.
Just gotta watch out for it. Only level 11. You're still able to have the impact in the ultimate, I think, with the Jormungandr, right? Untargetable, ton of knockups, but as soon as you pop out, you're just going to get destroyed. So I think we need to see Trixtank start these fights with the ult and get off what he can before he just gets focused and turned and burned on. Because in Splyce, they've got to deal with that. And I think that's the biggest problem, or the biggest problem with dealing with Jormungandr, is that whatever plan you have has to wait until he's done doing his thing. It's frustrating, kind of. All right, he's leaping. He's got 2 more leaps, and we just gotta wait. Just chill.
But at this point, it just doesn't do any damage. There's no threat of damage. It's only the displacement.
And the team has to capitalize off of it. If they
And
can.
who is dealing damage at this point? I mean, Ataraxia's also been farming well. He's the same level as CycloneSpin, but
Look at that chart.
Qvo's all the way at the left-hand side. He can't be here to defend this. Ataraxia doesn't look particularly excited about defending on that right-hand side. He doesn't even have an ultimate. So back towards Fire Giant, Splyce go.
50%. Zoning by Divios. Ataraxia says not interested. Here comes the big worm, and Variety over the wall here as well. Splyce are going to get
No
stolen
way.
a second time. That said, Trixtank could go down. Hurriwind could be next as well. Cyno on the run, but the Valkyrie goes to the skies. Divios is here. Hurriwind lands in the middle to prevent the clump up. Interesting play. Hurriwind kills himself, but that's to prevent him and Variety getting dove at the same time.
Right. He knows he's dead. No
Yes,
reason to put
yeah.
Variety in harm's way as well.
That looks like a dumb play, but that's a smart play.
Splyce end up losing the objective again, though. Got to be working on that objective secure a little bit.
Yeah.
That one's more of a coin flip. You don't have Kraken to secure it. It just ends up not going your way. Variety has execute, doesn't use it aggressively. Right side Phoenix still falls even without the Fire Giant buff. As Qvo will get the tier 2 tower on the left-hand side. He's still got Fire Giant buff, and Dignitas not looking like they want to let Splyce back right away. I don't know how much that gets Dig back and ready to go, but I mean, now they're only down about 3K.
Yeah.
It's not that bad now for Dignitas. I mean,
No, this is a game.
XP isn't that horrible either. Variety's sticking on top of them. In fact, here comes Qvo.
And Moswal's going to get deleted. Nice shot there from the Kali. Crusher, Katana, Executioner certainly going to chew through the opposition. CycloneSpin dashes aggressive. Cyno's here as well, but Dignitas in relative good spirits. Qvofred, full health and mana, can just go for it, but nobody really presenting the opportunity. And while it's 11-3, Dignitas are only down 3,000 gold, and they've got a Fire Giant now.
If they get Gold Fury here, this game's basically even. How did they get so much gold back, man? I mean, their willingness to split the map. Qvo just has been not team fighting at all. Neither is Ataraxia, and it's just been we are farming.
Yep.
We are farming. We are farming.
Bump, bump, bump.
And now, I mean, Gold Fury is probably going to go the way of Splyce here. I don't think Hurriwind will get here in time.
No way.
To steal this away, please. Okay.
Nah, not going to happen that time around. So Splyce will maintain their lead, but they are holding on to it with white knuckles for sure. Dignitas just coming to rip it out of their hands. And so I like the coin flip. Rival used to do this a lot,
Yeah.
where we'll fight over the Fire Giant. We don't really care if you get it as long as we win the ensuing team fight. The problem was for Splyce, they only got one player. Ataraxia wasn't even there. He was pushing in the mid lane, getting that farm you're talking about. And so not having enough players there means that you don't have enough players to punish. And so it's still a 50-50. Maybe it's a 60-30 because you have the player advantage.
Sure. I mean,
But it's still not 100.
They still got the right side Phoenix. They still got something off of it. That's still a good fight for Splyce without a doubt.
Absolutely.
But the amount of farm that Ataraxia and Qvo have gotten off of it is really impactful. However, that being said, a lot of this gold that's keeping Dignitas locked in this game was by way of towers. And now there's only one tier 2 tower left. That's why Qvo's over here on the right-hand side. This is the only spot where he can be farming it with the idea of pushing towards a tier 2 tower, whereas Splyce still has a decent amount of gold still left in the towers to recoup. So Dignitas isn't getting many more spikes of getting back into this game quickly like they've had up until this point.
Going to be trouble, though. Critical mass Dignitas has reached with Qvofred having the chin side. Ataraxia burns the ultimate.
They were planning on picking Aror because everyone else had backed, I think, but then they were like, hey, he's level 16 and a Hercules, by the way.
Yeah.
So maybe we shouldn't.
I was interested in why that ult really came through. Fire Giant a couple of minutes. Splyce still have the lead. Fire Giant, or excuse me, Fire Phoenix is in trouble as it will respawn. Qvo uses the ult nice and early. 24 in and only 14 kills. Splyce was able to make a really big mess in the early game and kind of the mid game as well. But in the late game, Dignitas have found 3 kills and a 4th kill. It's not on the scoreboard because it was the Fire Giant. That allowed them to kind of even things up. Splyce pick up a Pyromancer, but who cares? We're waiting for the Fire Giant.
The thing I care more about is the fact that Qvo lost beads and his ultimate because of a couple blinks from Splyce's frontliners. They understand that Dignitas' win condition from here is through Qvofred, and he's the one that they need to be particularly concerned about.
Variety and Ataraxia, actually. It's always interesting to see the carry that far up. Aror here looking for Variety, won't find it.
Where are you going?
CycloneSpin jumping forward. I don't know if I like that. That's rough.
He's got so much front line there to help him. They know Qvofred's in mid. They know Hurriwind's completely out of mana. I've got no problem with it. You have to understand when you have your windows of opportunity to put in damage. And now, because of that, Trix is a little bit lower coming to this fight than he would have been previously.
So apparently he's going to grab some farm on the left side as well. Only players not 20 are your mid and supports. Moswal with a 2-level lead above his opposition. Aror with a 2-level lead above his opposition. So Splyce still have the experience lead for now. Most players catching up to level 20, although. And the item lead is there as well for a couple of positions. So this is the last chance. Cyno aggressing on Qvo. The ultimate will be expended. That Dignitas really are behind. They got a Fire Giant, they were able to even things up, and now just 5-10 more minutes, the goal differential will matter less and less to where it becomes near irrelevant, and the experience will be similar.
Wow, a huge distance covered there by Divios. Got the beads out from Hurriwind, but he's got to use his ultimate. He gets pretty low. Still has teleport, still A-okay. Another good trade by Splyce in the mid lane as well for Cyno pulling away destruction again from Qvofred. Though Qvo now has his Magi's Cloak, so it'll be much harder for him to get his beads burned in the lead up to this next Fire Giant.
Magi's Cloak so important for what Colleague wants to do. Because it's, like you said, protection from the beads burn, but also a simple stop, right? A simple lift, a simple knock up, some stun that you're in for half a second too long can mean the difference of sticking to your target and not sticking to your target. And Magi Cloak kind of doing it for you automatically once you get CC'd. A very, very nice look when your job is to essentially just stick onto people, finish them off.
A lot more patience now from Splyce. They understand the last Fire Giant didn't really matter if we lost that one. This one's going to matter more. It's enhanced, so don't want to risk that. Instead, go towards the Oni Fury.
Easy.
They get that one. Hurriwind actually loses the ultimate because of, again, the threat of another pluck. Trixtank's got to use his as well. Enough people here to make him back it up. Well, maybe not.
Yeah, no, the push forward. It's all forward from Dignitas. Trixtank already cut down to 40%, however. The jump on the right side as Aror finds himself surrounded by Dig jerseys. Herc Pluck will miss. Divios and Cyno on the chase from the left side. Aror finds a stun onto Trixtank. There's big damage. CycloneSpin finds his 3rd kill without a death. Cyno going in versus Hurry. Knock up, knock down. 5 kills without a death for Cyno Shore. And there's Variety dashing to the left. And Aror too fast. Cyno again. Another kill. 2 for the young jungler. Mid lane tower going to fall as well. The Phoenix on the menu.
Just a little bit of a rare overextension by Dignitas, a lack of patience, and that's something I've been saying a lot about them. They've been a very patient team so far. That time, I think they get a little bit anxious about waiting around. Are we just going to end up losing if we sit here and do nothing? And then they take a bad fight that Splyce cleans them up.
Oh. Splyce going all the way in. Hurriwind and Variety on the bench for 10 more seconds. Qvofred's going to get a kill on a Cyno, however, jumping back to the Titan. Moswal's dot did it. That's 3 players down, but Hurry's about to respawn. And the retreat is the smart play from Splyce.
Cyclone low, that spit over the wall might do enough from Trixtank from here, but Cyclone's just able to get out of range in time. Good defense there by Dig on the Titan itself. And I wonder if this is actually the window that Dig need. They might be able to do fire here.
Variety's going to look for the confirmation. knocked up, and here's the damage coming out from Moswal as well. Double stun for the Chili's. He's going to walk away. And there's a reset. So Dignitas do have a little bit of a time window. Achilles going to back to base, and Fire Giant's up.
Aurora's here, but no ultimate for him, no Aegis for him. But not enough damage for Dignitas. They feel like they can't get it done. Ataraxia, no crit. Doesn't really do that much damage to the objective.
Half hour of play. Splyce have 15 kills. That's a kill every 2 minutes. Dignitas, on the other hand, a much different story with only 4. But their impacts in this game have been kind of similar. 10,000 gold in the lead of Splyce. Plenty more kills than Splyce have. But Dignitas were able to answer back a couple of times and quite literally get only 4 kills. But every time there's been an engagement that Dignitas really invested, they wind up on top. So it's looked really good for Team Dignitas, despite the fact that they don't have the kills that Splyce have.
Still a 10k lead now for Splyce. They have the damage to do the enhanced Fire Giant, though. They seem really hesitant to pull it.
I mean, that's one of the bigger topics of conversations around players and you know, casters and stuff is enhanced Fire Giant. How strong is it? Because it
strong.
tears you up, man. It is players have died to it this year. I mean, it really hurts.
It does. I'm more of a fan of it this way, personally.
Same.
I think that it adds another level of complexity to the late game, which I'm usually a fan of. It's hard. There's no doubt about that. It is definitely difficult. I'm not contesting that at all, but I think that, as I mentioned in the earlier stages of this set, you have to build with it in mind more than you ever have. And I think that once players get used to that, you'll see more comps built around it.
Divio's blinking and immediately getting Hurriwind's ult for it. Trixtank is going to be a stun target. Here's Auror's ultimate, hitting Ataraxia, but he's still alive. And a secondary push as Cyno's drafted away. But the rest of the team for Splyce is on the right-hand side. Dignitas, big worm ult coming aggro. And there's all 3 shots and nobody really in trouble.
Qvo has the blink, though, and Ataraxia in the sky. There's a great opportunity. Could find a big knock-up here as everyone gets stunned, actually, by Qvofred. A double whoop as well. Moswal has the Aegis, but Cyclone's already dead to Ataraxia. Qvo gets the double kill, and all of a sudden, it's just Cyno and Aror alive.
Kali, that's what she does. Cyno and Aror are going to try to play defense onto the Fire Giant.
Can't catch him, man. It's too fast.
Oh, there's a blink. Aror driving strikes away from it. Oh, man, we're making sure that Auror's not going to be able to make it way on through.
Hurriwind's here to defend the mid Phoenix as well, but Dignitas don't feel confident in just going in with 3. Now they get their mid Phoenix back, and Hurriwind can rotate in towards Fire Giant. Now a 4-on-2 on this Fire Giant fight, but this is limited here, Tom, because Divios has teleport up in 19 seconds.
Aror here, and he's the only one here, or so it seems. Cyno is going to show up and blink to the back line. 10% of the Fire Giant. Dignitas now pulling a Splyce, and they're just going to gamble for it. Cyno's here, and Dignitas secure it in traffic. Cyno falls down 7-1-0. Qvofred on the Kali. Just incredible play coming out from Qvo one more time.
He's nuts, man. 7 out of Dignitas' 8 kills. That fight, he gets a triple Kali stun.
Yep.
That targeter, it's not a big targeter, man.
It's the size of a Behemoth knockup.
Like, it's not big. Everyone just groups up a little bit too much on Splyce. They run together out, and that's usually good, but not when there's a potential knockup coming from Ataraxia. I love that Ataraxia, by the way, doesn't go onto the 3 targets. Instead, he really trusts himself, goes after CycloneSpin, finishes off that ADC, and then has a good angle to come and continue to contest in that fight.
Make sure that his direct opponent, right? Smite is very, during the laning phase, I guess you can call it man-to-man defense, but it's all team-based. But solo laners and hunters, I find specifically, are there to play for their particular, or junglers and hunters are there play to their particular direct opposition a little bit more so than the rest of the teammates. So Ataraxia kind of doing his job before joining the squad, and I like that thought process there coming out from Dig.
Now Dignitas in the driver's seat.
Yes.
From here. There's only a tier 2 tower left on the right side of the map, but they're more focused on the far side Phoenix, away from Fire Giant. Thing is here, Hurriwind needs to be very careful. No relics for him for a little bit. He's getting beads up soon, but Hurry doesn't have Aegis, and neither does Ataraxia for 70+ seconds. And that's still a window that Splyce could exploit.
Left side, 4 players. Mid lane, 1 player. Splyce lining up and trying to play defense against what Dignitas have prepared. Qvofred and Variety on the mid lane. Variety the flex player right now. He's part of this 4, but if anybody commits to Qvofred too hard, he can just jump right over here. That's why he's in between. He's the swingman, so to speak, in this 4-1 split strategy.
Qvo's just playing lights out there, man. Even in that little skirmish in the mid lane, he strips away Cyno's Magi's Cloak and preserves his own all at the same time. It's the little things that really stand out sometimes when you're watching Qvo, and he just does those little things so well. His fundamentals of the jungle are near flawless, it feels like.
Dignitas getting aggressed on just a little bit by the left side lane. Splyce trying to protect their base here for the final time, or at least in the final game of this 5-game set. Tied up at 2-2. Aror just moving back and forth, and now it's a 3-on-2 here. And this will prove to be a little bit harder for Team Dignitas, I think, because they don't have the damage to really take anything down quickly on either side.
Yeah, the siege has been a bit awkward so far for Dignitas. They don't have great engage. Now Variety's going to give it a shot, go in onto Aror. Trixtank walks in, knocks up CycloneSpin. He's going to have to back it up right away as Hurriwind already has to use the purification beads, and he's half health. No damage has been done at all to the Phoenix.
Ultimate coming out from Jormungandr also going to be a large whiff. So Dignitas have to just go back to the drawing board. They didn't really like what they did. Didn't really achieve much.
Yeah, I don't. This is the problem, and it has been a problem so far for Dig in this game, is that they have no engage at all. They've got no really good blink option. I mean, blink stun from Achilles is pretty slow.
Right.
Honestly, no blink on the Trixtank, of course. Qvo can't be the first one in any of these fights. So who do you really lean on? You really want to be able to whoop someone with Freya, whoop a frontliner, and then deal relevant damage. But that's why usually it's Freya in a really good mid-mage.
Like Kraken Ra.
Exactly. The combo very well together, and that just isn't here for Dignitas. Hurriwind is the mid laner this time around. And without the old Freya burst damage, you just don't have to respect that whoop nearly as much. It's tough from this position for Dig. I really don't know what they're supposed to do a whole lot differently in these sieges. Maybe you just have Trixtank open it. You have Variety blink in, have Trixtank open it up with that World Serpent ultimate, and you just create enough space. Ataraxia doesn't need a lot of time on these objectives. He's got the Silver Branch bow. Whenever he gets that Audacity passive going, he's going to be hitting really, really hard for those 5 auto attacks.
That's really what it is. You're just looking for that 5 basics are going to kill somebody with this build. The chin size have come out. You're just going to chew through anybody tanky. Nice approach to the game there from Ataraxia.
But and now a straight-up Fire Giant fight. I don't know that this favors Dignitas either, to be honest with you. I mean, I think that was their window of opportunity, was Qvo really pouncing on an unsuspecting Splyce. When Splyce is ready for the fight, they've won every single one of these engagements.
Right. And that's the key, is that when they're ready for the fight, Splyce are the ones that want to be a little bit disruptive and play the game earlier than Dig, but they're also the ones that kind of need their team fight isolated. Aror himself gets isolated. He heals up all that damage, though. Mitigate wounds, baby. That said, the rest of Splyce too far up the lane. Dignitas making moves. Ataraxia deals with Cyno, and the Jormungandr is trying to peel for Qvo.
He does it successfully, just in time as well. His Mantle of Discord actually popped, but somehow CycloneSpin finds Hurriwind. A really scattered fight here in the mid lane, but it ends up being 1-for-1. Hurry ends up dying. I don't know if his relics just came up. Seems kind of likely. Oh, here comes Ataraxia, actually finishes off a lone Moswal.
Uh-oh. So that's 2 players dead for Splyce. Ataraxia does fall down, though, as Tivios makes his name known. Here comes Variety and Trixtank. Cyclone going to jump out of the way.
Qvo has Blink still. Aurora have his driving strike. Now it's down. Qvo gonna blink in right after that. Stun's there, but Mantle Stun does one better. Variety still has one left in the tank, but Qvo can't catch up. 3-on-3 left, but not a whole lot doing for either side.
Another reset. Just complete back to base, return, maybe some items. 40-minute conquest game here. Team Dignitas and Splyce separated by 2,000 gold, although now largely irrelevant. Separated by 7 kills, always largely irrelevant. But paintings of how the game has gone so far for sure. Splyce able to answer back to it. Dignitas had start a Primal Fury and get some more of the imperfect music. I like that play. The Primal Fury goes down.
Now they're at 14% more damage to the Enhanced Fire Giant. Now they shouldn't have much trouble at all burning that objective, and I wouldn't mind seeing them go right there. I mean, Moswal doesn't have Aegis, but other than that, your Relic situation's looking really good right now for Splyce. Certainly better than that on the other side for Dignitas, where Qvo's without Relics for quite some time.
Sure.
Variety's without Relics. No Aegis for Ataraxia. With a 14% damage buff, you should be able to do this one pretty okay.
We'll see.
We will see. This has been Auror's strat. Just run at Qvo.
Yeah.
Take him out of the fight.
just go for it, looking for the Magi's Cloak. Won't be able to find it there just yet. There's a pluck onto Jormungandr, which will cause a lot of the negative stats, but not get the kill. Aurora trying to blink for it, but can hit the worm.
Great patience. Hurriwind's got to use that ultimate, and Aurora still has Driving Strike, going to hit it onto 2 and deal some relevant damage to Ataraxia in the meantime. This should be enough space now, I imagine, where Splyce should go for that Enhanced Fire Giant. I mean, I get it, it's scary, but this is your time.
You've got the tools. You can go ahead and tackle it.
Someone's got to tank it, though, boys.
They're looking for Divios, it looks like.
Does Divios not have Speed Pot? He looks really slow to me.
He does look really slow. And Fire Giant, half HP already. Dignitas looking to peel off. And they will. They'll peel Splyce off of the objective. There's Variety using the ult to go up north, and Moswal with the demons coming out, already in trouble. Aurora down south, separating Qvofred from the rest of the squad, but Cyno falls as Hurriwind finds the last hit on Freya.
Oh, now Moswal's in trouble. No Aegis for him already. Qvo going to be able to eat him up, no problem. Divios next on the menu. Great Excavate, nearly got it done. Good attempt from Divios to finish off Qvo, but better patience from him. A 3-for-0 for Dignitas, and again, they take forever to start pulling that Fire Giant. They got it to half health in the blink of an eye, and they just didn't pull it soon enough.
Not used to the damage, I don't think. We've mentioned damage checks coming out from players against players. Hey, I'm gonna crack at you and see how much the damage does, and that can kind of make me feel a little bit better about how I'm going to perform in this next team fight. It's hard to do that on a Fire Giant, so you just kind of go in and guesswork.
I don't know if Aurora is exactly where he wants to be, but Hurriwind's frontline against CycloneSpin. Pretty even trade between the two, but World Serpent's here. Aegis is available for Cyclone, so he's got it just in case, but I think Dig's going for the end.
They're just going to rush the Titan at this point. 3 players on the bench for a Splyce, and the damage is certainly there. They couldn't get the Fire Giant, but they get the Titan, and that's a big win for Team Dignitas. They're fired up, and they're feeling good.
5-0 for Team Dignitas. They have really run the gauntlet and played the best teams the SPL has to offer. And Trix has every right to be dancing and feeling good, man. An impressive win from Dig, where Splyce really had him against the ropes.
Yeah.
Splyce just couldn't break the base.
It was tough. You know, Splyce, 2 big Fire Giant mistakes because it goes the other way, but I think that was the game plan to play it that way. It just winds up in the other team's court. That's a rough loss for Splyce, but I think it was well played.
They played so well in the early game. I mean, they were doing everything right in the early stages. Aurora had a great game on that Hercules, but in the end, they just didn't have an answer for this Kali.
Yeah.
And you know, the Zhang Kui didn't really do it for me that game. Moswal did okay, but the overall, I think that some long-range poke damage would have been really helpful. I don't know. Splyce certainly still look like a top team in the world. There's no doubt about that in my mind.
Yes.
But this one, I think that the objective play just needs a little bit of work. I mean, to lose 2 Fire Giants in the same set is not a good start.
The second Fire Giant I had so much less of an issue with because
Sure,
they did
agreed.
something after the fact. The first one was a real heartbreaker. When I'm looking at what Dignitas did well here again, the Kali identify that these games have gone late. Splyce try to throw a wrench in the situation and go, all right, well, we're going to play early this time.
Yeah.
And Dignitas just go, no, that's not going to happen. So they play their own game, they stick to it, and that is what allowed Dignitas to really take it.
Wow, an impressive week for Dignitas to come out of this week 5-0. They beat the Pittsburgh Knights. They beat Splyce. This is the uncontested best team in the SPL right now. I mean, the only team that has looked like they work on all cylinders quite as well has been Splyce at times and Rival at times. And Dignitas has already beaten both of them this year.
Well, they're undefeated. 3 games in this set is what brings them the victory. Tolly, Finch, break it down.
I'd be happy to. An impressive win for Dignitas, an impressive week, an impressive start from this team so far. And as much as I think there were some errors there from Splyce, I think that there's just no way that we can't credit this to Dignitas and the way that they played. I mean, Qvofred on this Kali in the last game was insane. He had such a tough time throughout this early game, but he stayed relevant, stayed close, so he could pop off when they needed him.
That was the idea and mindset going into the draft by picking the Freya, the Apollo, the Kali as well.
This hurts, too.
Oh, man. The second Fire Giant steal of the set. I believe it was Yorm. Unless it was Variety underneath behind. No, it definitely looks like it was indeed Trixtank. And that was through Aror's boulder as well.
Yeah,
this stun.
That couldn't happen. And this was the 3-man stun that Qvofred lands that sets up this fight in a big way. I mean, it was plays like this from Qvofred that turned things around, yes. And I'd rather highlight that than some of the Splyce mistakes right now. But we'll certainly get to those too. But Qvo played this so well for them. Trixtank had some troubles in the early game on this Jormungandr, but in the late game, he turned it around. It was a lot of focus onto Hurriwind's Freya from Splyce, so Hurry didn't get to quite have the game that you wanted. But for me, Qvo and Variety really turned this game around for them when the game started getting towards the mid and late.
So focused, not only offensively, but as he was trying to get the kill also onto Divios' Sobek, he's like, he sees the boulder from a distance, so as soon as he lands, he has to immediately juke it. He was hyper-focused in that last game. Great performance by Qvofred, going 8-1-2. Great performance by all of Dignitas. Poor Hurriwind, though.
Yes.
On the Freya, was getting constantly focused, and no fault to his own. Aror plays this kind of a style where he's going to be a bully. He's going to make your life a living hell. Going for the Hercules with the Shield of Regrowth, you can't get away from him.
Man, every number on this sheet told me Splyce won this game. It's crazy looking at the stats, and everything on here makes me think if I hadn't seen it and I just looked at this, I'd go, oh yeah, Splyce won. They just couldn't close it out. A couple of times around the Fire Giant, there was some confusion, so I guess now we are moving into some of the stuff Splyce didn't execute on perfectly. And the Fire Giant steal isn't even the most egregious one for me in Game 5. That last FG, they wait so long before they start actually taking it. They're just kind of standing around. They don't even have ward control, so it's not as if they're waiting on more information. I don't know exactly what it is. Maybe they're waiting on cooldown or something like that, but by the time they actually start, it's way too late. Dig just rush in.
Too risky, honestly, and against the late game composition of this Freya, Apollo, Kali, it was Dignitas' draft in the late game, but Splyce couldn't close it out in the earlier stages. When I was looking around the 20 to 25 minute mark, the late game hyper carries were at the bottom of the player damage chart. They couldn't really get the ball rolling, but then once team fights started breaking out later on, it all started clicking.
You can say Qvo.
Sure.
Once Qvo started clicking. I mean, I agree. I don't think that the Freya ever really did all that much. Apollo, the build from Ataraxia's curve was a little bit odd. I don't know if it all did all that much, though he did have a nice ult in towards the end of the game where he traded his life out for Moswal. This one had Qvo's name for it all over it for me, at least for game number 5.
Yeah, the Silver Branch Bow is not a very common build, but Ataraxia is definitely one that likes to kind of stretch it. He had the penetration also with the Asi and the Executioner, so it made a lot of sense by going this item specifically with Apollo having the Audacity passive.
That's right. He definitely will be able to get into that Silver Branch pretty regularly, but just a huge win for Dignitas. This is, I mean, they're the team right now. They're the best that we have. That's the one everyone else is comparing up against. They've really earned that title, at least for now. We'll see if they can hold on to it. But those guys who did so well for you, Dignitas, they're standing by. We've got Trix and Ataraxia for the interview.
All right, Ataraxia and Trixtank, congratulations on your set victory. Trix, before the set today, you tweeted that you just wanted to do better than 3-1. That's all you were looking for. How good does it feel to actually end up winning?
I mean, it feels good to be winning. I do feel like it should probably have been a 3-1. I do want to give us credits as well, as them. Obviously, they did some mistakes, but I do think that we're one of the best teams to play from behind. Also against PK yesterday, we had 2 games where we played from behind, but we played it super great. So it's not, when we're behind, we don't really stress out, and that shows in the game as well.
I think the confidence level does as well. Very confident about it. Ataraxia, I'm going to ask you something that Aggro had mentioned it during the broadcast. You seem to be doing more now to help the squad, and I find that the hunter position very rarely gets that opportunity. What is it about the game or just the team that allows you to take more of a front page role for the squad?
There's 2 factors for this. First, it's Fred, Variety, and Trix. Those guys are easily the best core trio, in my opinion, for like diving and playing a frontline unit. They're always on the same page, even if they don't have to say something all the time, which gives me so much space to do stuff. But another thing is that on Obey and through the 5 years, me and Prime played as a unit, you know, and we always played in a way that got Prime into a great position to win fights, because that was what's Prime's specialty. You know, he's played great at playing Zeus and Posh, and Twig used to always joke about how much he sells me out in fights to get the damage off, and Tyler treats me nicer than Prime does, so that's pretty much it.
Oh, what a nice guy.
Yeah.
Trix, you've been playing with Qvo for a long, long time, but he has played unbelievably well to start Season 6. Yeah. What have you seen from him that's really elevated his game so far this year?
I'm not sure what it is. I think, honestly, Nate is a big factor to why Fred is doing good, because there's been some inconsistencies in our communication and so on, and if Fred is not ahead, then Nate kind of takes over the communication that's lacking. Like, I will always consistently talk, so that's no problem, but he can kind of take over the communication part, so now Fred can just relax if he's having a worse game and just do his thing and focus on that. So I think that is a big factor, but I also just think that Fred is incredible right now. Like, I don't think he's had a bad game yet. Like, literally all 5 games of all, like, against the rival as well. Like, he played so amazing in all games. So I don't know what's up with him. He's been eating something else. Maybe it's the weight loss. I don't know.
Hey, man, the whole squad has been turning up. You guys are undefeated. The only team that's undefeated. You guys have been playing nasty. Big break. How do you came in hot? How do you stay hot while you have a week or 2 off?
Well, that one's a bit easier because we've played the only team that worries me left now, not to be arrogant, is United. But we've taken out Pittsburgh Knight, Splyce, and Rival now.
We have SK as well.
Oh, and SK, of course, yeah. SK thrashes and scrims. Like, we never win scrims against them. So for practicing and staying hot, I don't know, we just keep doing the same, really. I think we'll take a couple of days off, enjoy the win, and then just get right back to it, play some ranked, figure out some strats, and come in fresh.
Well, congratulations, you guys have looked incredible. Still undefeated. Ataraxia and Trix, thanks for your time.
The Smite Pro League, brought to you by Skillshot, Hi-Res Studios, Titan Forge, INET, Steel Series, and Respawn.